Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Wilson Stribling. Welcome to another edition of At Issue, where we discuss and debate the critical issues facing the state of Mississippi and how these issues impact you. The big story, the Senate bill to change the makeup of the board that oversees Mississippi's largest airport, has passed the House, but not before hours of protests by Democrats that slowed the House calendar to a snail's pace. Democrats and the Legislative Black Caucus supported the protest by the Hinds County delegation over the bill that calls for overhauling the board at the Jackson Medgar Wiley Evers International Airport. The board is currently controlled by the city of Jackson. The final version of the bill calls for a 9-member regional airport board with members from Hinds, Madison, and Rankin counties. 5 of the 9 members would come from Jackson. Democrats made passionate pleas to their colleagues to vote against the bill. Some also accused House Speaker Philip Gunn of breaking a promise to kill the bill in committee. Other Democrats argued the bill was motivated by race, while some likened it to rape and pillaging, stealing, piracy, or a money-motivated power grab.
With due respect, the airport is vital to the region and to the metro area. And we don't need to study this anymore. This issue's been batted around since the beginning of the session and before.
We all say we want competition from the airline industry. What airline industry is going to come to chaos? And that's what we're about to have, because they're going to court. They've already said it. They're going to court. The city of Jackson will go to court over this. We get calls and calls from our constituents every day, all of us from Hinds County, saying, you can't let this happen. We know. We hear from our mayor. We hear from our city officials. We cannot let this happen. Why are we going to create chaos to prevent other businesses, other airlines from coming here to serve you, to serve the constituents you have that want to fly out of Jackson, to serve the constituents and relatives you have that want better service and a competitive rate? Why are we doing this?
We all know that the airport belongs to the people of Jackson. Even if this is not your calling, and you are here because you are elected, gentlemen in the back who are being disrespectful, I ask that you do what you are elected to do. I ask that you join me in defaming injustice and vote no.
All 122 of us have a responsibility to avoid this type of situation. We just don't have the opportunity to do that. Now, I know you play your games and you want to do this and want to do that, and you have your supermajority. But right now, we're going to all look super something else.
And it wasn't until there was a change in the director of the airport from one who was of Caucasian descent to one who was of African American descent that they felt that they wanted to take over the airport. Now, before we start to making decisions, and I've watched the votes, so when people come down here and talk about that this is not about black and white, that's not the truth. Because none of you sitting in here outside of those individuals that reside or represent Madison and Rankin County have a dog in this hunt, but you're voting for Madison and Rankin County. Now, I'll say this, and every time I come to this podium, I tell you this, the pendulum shifts. And one day you're going to be standing right here where I am, and you're going to be asking for support, because you all won't always have a supermajority. Let's be honest about that.
We don't have the capital to be fighting one another all the time if we want to move ahead. Either we can work together and try to get something accomplished, or we can resort to what we do so well, is fighting. We can have the best fights down here that anybody in the world can have.
I have no idea about why this bill is here. I think I know why it's here, because it can get here, because there's a supermajority that has brought the bill without debate. Forget debate. Forget debating bills in the Mississippi House of Representatives. Just vote yea or nay. It's not the way to run a railroad. I promise you, it is not the way to run a railroad. And at this point, we all ought to be brakemen, not engineers. and put the brakes on this.
Not a single word has been spoken justifying why they want this piece of legislation. Not one word. And the only answer can be is we're doing it because we can do it. And you black folk over there in Jackson, Mississippi, you think you run something? We're going to show you this day. We're going to take that agency from you. Oh, they say, oh, Jackson will still own it. Well, it's like this. You give me a car, shine it up, it's running good, and you take the keys away. Do I still have a car? They are taking the keys away from Jackson, Mississippi. They are now running the show.
To understand the bill.
The day before the vote, Democrats protested by having all bills read aloud. The bill reading machine was put on the fastest setting. It sounded like a bit like pressing fast forward, and that angered some Democrats. Representative Jay Hughes filed an injunction against Speaker Gunn over the machine's speed. The injunction was rejected by the state Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the Republican chairman bringing up bills refused to take questions from the podium before votes. Over in the Senate, 2 senators staged a protest over the Freedom of Conscience bill. That bill would exempt state officials and private business owners from punishment if they acted on their religious belief that their view of marriage is only between a man and a woman. Senator Barbara Blackman says only bills blessed by Republican leadership are open for debate and make it out of committee. Blackman and Senator Deborah Dawkins showed their displeasure by asking for all bills to be read aloud, by speaking on bills, and by asking for motions to reconsider, all well-known parliamentary strategies to stall the legislative process to display protest. What would normally take just minutes on the Senate calendar to complete took several hours. The Religious Freedom Bill is just one of among many that are still alive. Here's some others. A bill to allow security teams to carry guns in church, keeping confidential the names of employees, family members, and the pharmacy providing drugs for an execution, and school district consolidation. All of those bills are still moving. Among those that died, vaccination exemptions, grading parents, and moving Simpson County from the southern to the central Supreme Court district. Let's dive into the reporter's notebook now. Paul Boger of MPB News joins us now. Paul, good to have you with us. This filibuster's gotten a lot of attention because it took a lot of time at the Capitol.
It's still currently taking time. You know, lawmakers in the House have been going really since Wednesday morning, almost in a nonstop session, with the exception to go home, go to sleep at night. But, you know, they've been there at 9 a.m., they're getting done at 9 p.m., you know, working all day, hearing bills read. And you're right, pressing fast forward is a great way to explain how that bill reading machine sounds.
Because it was more or less a response from the speaker's side of things, just to get past it as quickly as possible, because it's a stalling technique, but it's also an expression of frustration, is it not?
Right, and that's exactly what it is. You know, Democrats in the House don't have a lot of options if they want to stop a bill. The supermajority prevents them from being able to vote against a bill or kill a bill through a vote. You know, they really can't do anything other than parliamentary procedure. Under the Constitution, lawmakers are allowed to have bills read. You know, their assumption is if they can stall the calendar long enough, they can kill some bills at the end that they don't want to pass. Now, that tactic, you know, Republicans all just move the bills up. You know, so it's not a great tactic, but it's retaliatory. The House in and of itself is very reactionary. You know, one side does one thing, the other side's going to take it and respond. You know, that's what's going on. And, you know, the speaker made a statement yesterday saying it costs the legislature $34,000 a day to convene. You know, if you're going to keep wasting time, we might have to meet tomorrow on Saturday. And that's going to cost the taxpayers another $34,000. So you're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting taxpayer money. This just isn't going to work.
Each side has its argument, obviously, for what it's doing. Despite the filibuster techniques, we did have some things that advanced and some things that died. Any big surprises out of that lot?
You know, I guess the vaccination bill was somewhat of a surprise. In the House, Republicans seemed very supportive of this bill. It allows families who believe that their child or a doctor says that their child is you know, allergic or cannot get the vaccines for any way, it allows that physician's recommendation to be taken as law, essentially. The bill received a lot of support in the House, never made it out of the committee in the Senate.
Which leaves it up to the Mississippi State Department of Health to make all decisions on exceptions. It's one of the reasons they say that we in Mississippi have the highest vaccination rate in the country.
That's exactly right.
The superintendent bill passed. This is something that they've talked about for years, and now we have a bill that's going to the governor's desk now that would mandate that all school superintendents in Mississippi be appointed rather than elected.
Right. This is something that some lawmakers have been pushing for years. The State Department of Education, for one, has been pushing for this for years. Essentially, no more elected superintendents in the state. We have about 50 right now. When it comes when their term is up, they'll be at local boards of education will be asked to appoint their new superintendent.
Which could be, I guess, the one who's already been elected, or it could be someone totally
somebody
new.
else.
The big difference is they could go find someone from outside the district and not have just the pool of people who live in that district.
And that's the main argument for this bill. Others say, that this bill removes local control. It removes people having a say in their own community. Supporters say this could lead to better schools. The big issue, or not the most surprising thing about this was that it passed with relatively little fanfare. It came late last night, part of that marathon session in the House, that, at that point I think people were just kind of tired.
And it passed, and we move on from here. Paul Boger of MPB News, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Governor Bryant's workforce training plan is now law. The governor signed Senate Bill 2808 this week. It creates the Mississippi Works Fund to set aside money for and develop workforce training programs. $10 million will be earmarked this year and $5 million each year thereafter to fund state-supported job training programs at community colleges.
As all of you know, this has been something that I have been looking forward to for several years now. When I was a boy, workforce development meant that you found out what your dad did and you went to work with him. We have advanced. We need people who can work in the automobile industry and aerospace industry and coding, information technology industries. This bill will help find those 39,243. If you go to your Mississippi Works app, which I'm sure all of you have, you will see 39,216 jobs that are open just now. These are people we are looking for to put in these jobs, and this bill will help do that.
Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves says the bill also cuts the unemployment tax rate, saving businesses nearly $200 million over the next 10 years. The House has approved a Senate plan to make infrastructure improvements to water, sewer, and roads in downtown Jackson and around the state capitol complex. The so-called Capitol Complex Improvement District would create a board to work with the city of Jackson to make the improvements. The plan would be funded with $21 million worth of Jackson sales tax revenue that would be redirected to the city. The district will encompass an area from the Capitol to the Coliseum and from Jackson State to the Pearl River. Lawmakers are attempting to pass campaign finance reform. The Senate Elections Committee amended a bill to prohibit campaign money from being used on things like personal items, personal loans, and cash outs. This comes after the Clarion Ledger and the Associated Press discovered some former and current lawmakers have made questionable purchases with their campaign funds. MPB's Mara Mode recently spoke with reporter Jeff Pender, who found there's a lack of transparency and accountability for campaign finances.
I am now joined by Jeff Pender, one of the political editors over at the Clarion Ledger, and we're here to talk about a story you did. It's definitely a lot of detail in there, but elected officials using campaign funds for private gain. So, of course, one of the big questions is how and where did this story originate from?
I think this has been an ongoing issue for years now, actually. It's come up in the past before, but at some point last year, I think the issue came up again in regards to State Auditor Stacey Pickering. The Clarion Ledger learned that actually some federal officials were looking into some of his campaign finance, and again, that kind of brought the issue up again, but this has been ongoing. I don't think it's been a secret practice by any means around here.
So go ahead and talk about the findings in this investigation here.
Sure. Looking across many state level officials, lawmakers, if you look, campaign funds have appeared to become, in some cases it would appear another source of income or an expense account, being used for things that one would be pretty hard pressed to say are campaign related. Our system, our setup of campaign finance reporting, at its very core though, is not very transparent. We don't have searchable data like many other states would have. We have very lax requirements on what you're required to report. So overall, there's a lack of transparency there that many, if not most other states have. And when you couple that with some other issues, such as no clear prohibition against personal spending, you've got a recipe for some serious problems of kind of a corrosive influence of money in our state political system.
What's next? Where do you go from here?
We're watching, this is part of a continuing series that I think there are related issues that I think we'll be writing about for quite some time to come. It's so at the core of state government, the influence of money in politics, which is a huge issue everywhere, but appears to be such a fundamental problem at the very base of our political system that we feel it bears watching, bears looking into, and bears reporting about.
You can read more of the series, Public Office, Private Gain, in the Clarion Ledger. There is a new member of the Senate. Senator Walter Michel was sworn in this week. He narrowly defeated Bill Billingsley to fill the seat vacated by Will Longwitz, who was appointed judge in Madison County. And Governor Bryant has appointed Representative Herv Frierson, Commissioner of Revenue. He replaces Ed Morgan, who was Commissioner for 7 years. Frierson has served in the House since 1992. He was the House Appropriations Committee Chairman. Well, let's get straight to the point now with views from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones is a Democrat. He's an attorney with the Beria Jones Law Firm and a former member of the Mississippi House. Austin Barber is a Republican national strategist. He's the founding partner of the Clearwater Group. Gentlemen, as always, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this filibuster as it's been characterized at the Capitol. Brandon, is this? There's a lot of a sense of frustration among Democrats. Is this sort of the new normal under the Republican supermajority?
Well, I hope not. This issue has been brimming throughout the course of the session. It started with giving bills short shrift in committee, and then went to not really taking up bills in committee. And then it went to not really answering questions on the floor. And I think in an act of frustration, members have asked, well, let's have the bills read. This may be the only time we hear what's in them. And it's gotten kind of toxic over there.
Is that a reasonable request? Let's have the bills read if we're not going to be able to discuss them?
I don't know that it matters if it's reasonable or not. It is their right to do so. And it is the right for the House to use the piece of equipment that they have there to do such, which is to read the bills. Listen, there's certainly a lot of gridlock in the House right now. It has even made its way across the Capitol into the Senate. I don't think it will last as long. It's not surprising. I'm not shocked. It's year one of a supermajority. I did see Representative Adrienne Wooten, who said to some of her colleagues in the House on the clip that you showed earlier, one day Republicans, you're going to be in my shoes. You're not going to be in the supermajority. Well, Democrats had control of the state for about 100 years, maybe even longer. So, but this is a new day. It is the first year of a supermajority. I think we're going to have these roadblocks. And I think as we probably move to the latter part of the session and try to get to appropriation bills and the end of the session comes, some of this will go by the wayside, hopefully specifically in year two.
Yeah, you know, I've kind of contrasted what goes on in the House with the Senate at different points on this program. And I completely appreciate the history of the makeup of the House. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm. Democrats had control in the House for a long time, had control in the Senate, had control across all of state government. But it does matter how you behave. How you treat the minority political party, it matters. How you communicate, and it communicates to those districts. I mean, whether you respect the person's party or not is really immaterial. These people represent counties. They represent communities. And I think it's reasonable for them to say, we'd like to know what we're voting for before we do it. And so I think her point is a good one. They need to give some thought to that. And I guess this is my biggest criticism of Speaker Gunn. He has been mean-spirited and contentious when he didn't have to be. He does have the numbers. He is going to win. So why cut off debate? Why not allow questions? Why read bills at ultra-lightning speed? That's all the types of things that bullies do, and it's unnecessary when you have the numbers.
Yeah, listen, personally, I like Philip Gunn. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think if you look at this as a whole, 3 weeks ago, the House, some percentage or some number of the House Democrat caucus, they stood up and they were angry and they demanded that bills be read because they were very unhappy because there were changes in the state Supreme Court, the way the lines were going to be drawn. So they moved past that, and now they're angry because they're unhappy that a bill has been passed to change how the Jackson Metro Airport, the makeup of the board. So they're asking for bills to be read. So, and I don't believe that there's not going to be another issue where they're going to be angry. But listen, elections have consequences. I think Philip Gunn is a good man. I think he treats people fairly. The airport bill, they argued that for 4 hours. I have sat in committee meetings, was in a committee meeting this week. They're talking about issues. There probably are some times when things go fast, but that's just the process there. So I think that I'm not 100% surprised where this is going. I hope things continue to get worked out and smoothed out, because that's what the public is demanding. The public has given the Republicans a supermajority because they believe in their governing philosophy and they want to see it enacted.
Well, Wilson, we're all kind of in the same boat. I mean, the media doesn't know. Austin and I weren't part of these discussions, but it probably is worth mentioning. According to members, they were told that the Speaker was going to kill a bill, and it didn't happen. They were told that it was going to be replaced with a study committee.
The airport bill you're talking
That's
about.
right. That's a big allegation. So, I mean, it kind of, to the extent that that's true, Austin, it sort of cuts the legs out from under what you just said, because there has to be trust in this process.
Yeah.
There has to be communication, and we just don't see that. And look, let's be honest. Tate and Philip don't talk a whole lot either. And there's a whole lot of cooperation over their bills. That's why so many substantive bills, MAEP, taxation, is all getting worked out in conference committees because they don't even agree yet.
Yeah, and I did talk to the Speaker's office, and of course I talked to Josh Harkins, who's the main author of this airport bill, and they both adamantly said there was no agreement to that. So I'm going to take them for at their word, and you're going to take the people that you said at their word.
No agreement to kill it in committee.
There was no agreement. There was no agreement to that. But listen, Republicans are working on what voters asked them to work on: education, tax cuts, reducing regulations, fully funding workforce training, which you showed earlier. That's what they feel like voters have asked them to go do, and they're working on it. And there's some members of the Democrats who don't like that, and they're following the rules that they see to try to slow the process down, and that's why we're at a stalemate. I'm not mad at either side for what they're doing, to be honest with you.
I can only speak for myself here, but and the members that I know in the House, look, we're fully aware that elections have consequences.
Yeah.
And we know that when we went into this session, we were going to suffer some pretty damaging losses from a policy standpoint. The difference, though, in getting beat and getting beat in the shadows, so we know MAEP is going to be reformulated, right? That bill is going into conference. No one in that chamber, House or Senate, can tell you what that bill is going to have in it. We know taxation changes are going to be made to fund infrastructure. No one can tell you how, or at least they're not telling anybody in the public. And we know that some other changes are going to take place, such as charter schools and other things that are going to take place in conference committee. What I'm saying is, don't do it in the shadows. Don't change the rules to spike the ball just to get your way even more than you already got your way at the ballot box. It's stylistic, but it is substantive because they've got the numbers, Austin. They don't have to do it this way.
Yeah, my quick retort for that would be, you shouldn't have people like Representative Jay Hughes who run to a Hinds County court because he doesn't like the speed. Literally, he did not like the speed the reading machine was reading the bills.
So his argument was you couldn't hear what the machine was saying.
Anybody who's ever sat, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but anybody who's ever sat up there knows that is a delay tactic. Nobody is listening to that machine. Nobody, whether it's reading at 1 word a minute or 1,000 words a minute. But he wastes taxpayers' time, a judge's energy, to take it to a local Hinds County judge who agreed with him, gave him a temporary restraining order, but then late that night, the Mississippi State Supreme Court ruled 8-0 against him. who's going to have to pay for those, pay for that judge's time, pay for the lawyer's time who had to go represent the, the Speaker of the House? You dislike what you're saying are delay tactics. I dislike and despise those kind of tactics just as much.
But that works in an election cycle. This cost-benefit analysis about our courts is really nonsense. That's what the courts are there for. They're there to sort out things whenever we can't sort them out. We're elsewhere. And this was not about the speed. This was about brimming frustration over a tyrant in the House that has chosen to not only set all the rules his way, but then to break the rules once he's already set them. Like promising we're going to kill a bill, not doing it. Promising we're going to fully vet this bill.
Now, his office says that he did not promise
that. Well, he said, she said. But we certainly, but one thing that's objective and for all the world to see is we're not debating bills in the Mississippi House. We're not asking questions about bills in the Mississippi House. We're not able to talk about these bills in the way that would give anyone confidence that those people who they elected to serve them know what they are passing, and that's a big problem.
I think if you asked any voter what should a judge, particularly in Hinds County with the crime issues that we have, and I know we got to switch subjects here, what should a judge be doing? They should be saying, I would guarantee they would say they need to be dealing with criminals, not dealing with this issue.
The notion that this took away from that's a complete red herring. That's nonsense.
I just completely disagree. And the state Supreme Court spoke 8-0 against it.
And without saying exactly why.
And we'll leave it right there. Gentlemen, thank you as always. We are out of time. We appreciate you joining us tonight on At Issue. We hope you'll be back next week for another edition of At Issue here on MPB.